What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. We are live today talking about the latest Browns news and rumors, some interesting pieces out there about where Baker Mayfield could end up, some new developments. We're going to look at Mel Kiper's latest mock draft, and we'll have a live Q&A. But while we let mock draft, Mel Kiper's latest grades, but while we let the audience build up a little bit, let me ask this question. Favorite one to start the show off with. Shout out your city. I love starting the show this way because I think it's a great example to show how far and wide the Dawg Pound reaches. It's not limited to the lake. It is going coast to coast. So put your city in the comments section. We'll give some shout outs. We'll let the audience build up, let everyone get in before we start today's show. We've got some Ohio votes. Peyton, Colorado. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about. It's not just limited to the Buckeye State. Amherst, Ohio. Alliance, Ohio. That's where Adam is at. Calico, New York. Catskill. Sean Bailey Sr. So right now the winner for furthest away from First Energy Stadium, we'll call that the center, is I'm going to go with Peyton, Colorado. Can anyone beat that one? Van Buren and Finley from Ballers. Always appreciate seeing some familiar faces. Well, not faces, but at least names in the chat. Love the support the Dawg Pound shows us here at Chat Sports because you guys keep showing up and we keep getting to do live shows, and you guys are the beneficiaries from that. Akron, Ohio. Damon's out in D.C. Jimmy, hi to you. Get some more city shout-outs in here as we let everyone filter in and get ready for the show. Like I said, we're going to be looking at the latest Baker buzz, a live Q&A. So that's a good opportunity to get your questions in by using a hashtag Browns or super chatting. Marysville, Ohio, Mike Dibble. Dibble is like a Chat Sports legend around here, so appreciate seeing you here in the show. As we let some more ones in there, let's jump out to the next question here. Grade the Browns NFL draft class. Time for you to be Mel Kiper. What would you give what Andrew Berry put together? Grade his draft portfolio this year, A, B, C, D, or F. It'd be hard to give someone an A that didn't have a first or a second round pick, but the way I look at it is he selected Deshaun Watson in the first round and Deshaun Watson in the second round. That's the spin zone. That's what you tell yourself of, yeah, you didn't get any big, splashy names, but still, you got Deshaun Watson for a first rounder. I'd say that's worth it. You corrected the mistake, we'll say, back in 2017. Dab Nation says B. Josh is out in Lynchburg, Ohio. Dreadbull says B-. Wheeling, West Virginia from Captain Orange. Isn't that where that really cool resort is, where all those 49ers players practice when they had back-to-back games in 2020 against the Jets and the Giants, and they all got hurt in the Meadowlands? Producer Marsh, he's a Giants guy, so he remembers that. Including Deshaun Watson, A+. Without Deshaun Watson, B-. Yeah, and that's fair, right? You can't expect to get an A without having a first-round pick. I just really wouldn't make much sense. And a C's average, so just keep that in mind. Adam says B. Kevin says C. Josh is A++++ with all the trades. Angela's watching from Washington, D.C. We got a B from K4L. I don't know what that stands for. All right. Keep getting those grades in here. I personally would give it a B. I think Andrew Berry, in hindsight, looking back, I was a little bummed out when he traded out of 44 because I felt like he could get a big impact player. But you got to get some draft capital when you lose a bunch to Houston. So if that means sliding back some spots and picking up some extra picks, it may not be what you want to do, but it may be the smart move down the line. I would have loved to have gotten a Jabo or Pickens. I know Jabo wouldn't have been a big impact player, but I think we would have gotten more out of a Jabo than Alex Wright early in their career. But hey, can't win them all. Captain Orange says draft was an A-. Jimmy Thomas says A+. Michael says B+. Michael, always one of the frequent super chatters on the show. Appreciate you, my guy. Let's get ready to the next question, though. Where will Baker end up? It's a $1 million question. I personally am taking the field. I think it's going to be somewhere random. I think what's going to happen is you're going to get the push notification from us here. Make sure you got your noties on. I can't tell you when. It may be tomorrow. It may be in August. But it'll be breaking. Baker Mayfield traded to blank. And I'll be like, what? That was one of the last teams I would have guessed. I think we can rule out some teams, barring a crazy injury. He's not going to Green Bay. He's not going anywhere within the division. So I think I'm going to take the field. And it's going to be like a random team that really wouldn't make much sense. And then you try to talk yourself into it. And you go, I guess so if you look at it this way. Speaking of Michael, I put the call out and he answered, my guy, Jimmy Thomas, out of the NFL. Yeah, I think Canada would take him in a heartbeat. $5 super chat from Michael Warnecki. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Appreciate you supporting the show, Michael. Always love seeing the same faces and names. I keep saying faces. Keep seeing the same names and avatars when you guys join the show. Hop in the comment section, in the live chat. The Montreal Alouettes, yeah, that's CFL, baby. Adam, unfortunately, I think we're gonna have to wait for an injury. Yeah, I agree. You're in an awkward spot, right? You don't want to wish for an injury because you don't want that bad karma coming back to you. But we'll talk more about this later, by the way, because I got a nice graphic on that. Shayla thinks the Bears. Rawr. Seahawks or Giants. Yeah, those are two more likely contenders at least, or destinations. All right, let's get on to the next question as we get more audience build up here. We're almost at 100 people. If you haven't liked the video, hit that thumbs up icon, because what that does is it tells YouTube, hey, if you're a Browns fan and you're looking for Browns content, well, this is a great spot to watch it. So it's going to bring more people from the Dawg Pound over here. So it's May 4th. May the 4th be with you. What color would your lightsaber be? We have a knack for having Browns Report on like bizarre-ish holidays. We started off on 420, illegal, call 911. But May 4th, color lightsaber. I loved Mace Windu's purple. I think the story is like Samuel L. Jackson's like, what are my options? And George Lucas is like, well, the good guys have green and blue. He's like, I want purple. And they're like, all right, you get purple. Yellow, black, Darth Maul. Yeah, Darth Maul has the coolest lightsaber. There's not much of a debate about that. Red, pink with sparkles. I don't know if you're going to slay many droids with that. But I like the idea of going dual lightsaber. Brown and orange. Okay, that's a good idea. Speaking of orange, as you guys get your lightsaber colors in there, do you want orange uniforms? I just want to ask this question just because I saw it on Twitter, and there's the Browns YouTube documentary, and there was a potential slip or like a leak of, hey, they had all these uniforms in the locker room, and one of them in the middle, in between white and brown, looked a little orange. So what do you think? Do you want orange unis? Y for yes, N for no. My only beef with this is the Browns have changed their uniforms a handful of times in, just say, the last decade. It gets a little annoying because, like, the uniforms are not cheap, right? You spend $120 on one. 2 years later, they change it. And then all of a sudden, you're like, yeah, I've got the old uniform with Cleveland here. You know, it's like, well, they don't wear those anymore. So, like, I hate being that guy. For a while there, if you had that Reebok jersey, when they switched to Nike, that was, like, the biggest, like, all right, look at this schmuck over here. Got a couple Y for yeses, N for nos, orange jersey, brown numbers, and pants. Okay, I can get behind that. It's kind of like The Office, like fashion show at lunch. Anyone my Baker Mayfield white jersey? Yeah, I feel bad if you got a Baker, an Odell, maybe a Landry. We'll hope that works out well, you know, and it's quickly gone down the drain. Tonya, hello all. Hello to Tonya. Angela, get them from China. Interesting comment. It's illegal. Oh, I see what she meant. Like, yeah. AliExpress, we've all been there. If you're ever tailgated, cheapest way to get a $19 jersey. Jimmy says no. All right. 10 minutes in. If you're ready for the show to start, hit that thumbs up icon. We're at 31 likes. Want to build that up. Let's try to get to, say, 50. You know, that's the goal we're shooting for. 83 people watching. Trying to bump those numbers up by getting that thumbs up icon down below. So like the video if you haven't already, and then put me in the comment section. That way, you know, it's a little like a roll call, a little attendance here. I like the video. I did my part here. All right. Like that thumbs up icon. And by the way, if you want to get on the show, really simple. We got one mailbag today. Use hashtag Browns or Super Chat and skip the line if you want to get your question in for sure. Otherwise, you leave it up to the jury, which is Marshall Green, my producer, and he just looks through all the questions because when you use hashtag Browns, that's what lets our software, that's the word I'm looking for, like put a little flag up and be like, yeah, that's a question. So you'll put that in the show. So hashtag Browns or Super Chat. like our good friend Michael Ed did earlier, skip the line and guarantee to get on the show. We're at 40 likes. Can we get a couple more before we start the show? We got a couple things coming up we're going to talk about. A lot of good stuff coming your way. We'll look at the latest Baker Mayfield trade rumors as Daniel Jeremiah and Dianna Russini both hopped on shows and talked about this. And we got some new developments, some new ideas. So we'll just check those out. Live Q&A afterwards, and then we'll get into Mel Kiper's draft grades. See how he felt the Browns fared in the 2022 NFL Draft. All right. 42 likes. I think we're ready to get the show started. Marshall, we all ready? As we get all the ones and twos situated, shout out to Marshall Green, our producer, always behind the screen, behind the camera, ready to make sure everything's ready to go. All right, guys, let's dive into today's Browns Report. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson, and coming up on today's show, we're going to check out the latest Baker trade rumors. An idea tossed out. Maybe he could end up in the Big Apple with the G-Men. Or is the Seahawks still a contender? Dianna Russini doesn't think so. So let's visit our notes here on the latest Baker Mayfield trade rumors. Dianna Russini hopped on the Ryan Russillo podcast and said the Seahawks don't want Baker. Not ideal. Okay. She says the Browns are not interested in splitting that $18.9 million contract. And then not long later, Daniel Jeremiah, NFL.com, well, he went on the Rich Eisen show, and he was talking about where Baker could go. He said, what about the Giants? Daniel Jones really hasn't lived up to what they hoped to get out of him in a first-round pick. Maybe they want to bring in some real competition and not Tyrod Taylor, because well, we know how that battle has gone when Baker and Taylor were fighting for a QB spot. So, who's the better quarterback? Is it Drew Lock over in Seattle? Is it Mayfield? Or is it Daniel Jones in New York? Let me know who you think the best quarterback is of this bunch. Put their jersey number in the comments section. I think it's the best way to measure what the people are thinking. I think it's Baker Mayfield. I think if you made everything else equal, and you ignore the contracts, and GMs had to pick one quarterback for one season, Baker would go before Jones and Drew Lock. I don't really think that's a bold take either. But yeah, here we are, and Baker's still in Cleveland. Let's visit Dianna Russini's comments, though, on the Russillo podcast. She said the Cleveland Browns do not want to take on that contract. They don't want to pay for that. I don't know the number they're willing to go to, but the last I checked, which was about a week and a half ago, they want nothing to do with that deal. If you want Baker Mayfield, you're going to pay that money. Cleveland's not going to try to split it with you. We have more comments from her in just a second, but to me this sounds like the Browns, they are very deep in this foxhole they are digging. Andrew Berry is adamant and confident that he will find a suitor who will take on that near $19 million cap hit. Now, those comments she said were a little dated. She said that just yesterday, but she's referencing what she said a week and a half ago, which was before the draft. So maybe after the draft, Barry has gone and thought, you know what? I thought we'd get a draft day trade. The Panthers ultimately moved up to get Matt Corral. Maybe we do have to eat some of this money. Things aren't going to plan necessarily, so maybe this is something we're going to have to do. Russini also said on the podcast, the Seahawks have been telling me from day one they have no interest in Baker Mayfield. They're riding Drew Lock, which we can talk about another time. That's their choice. I always remember when Seattle said they're not trading Russell Wilson. So just take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. To me, it sounds like Andrew Berry is banking on an injury. At this point, it feels like there's no team out there that doesn't have their quarterback room put together. Right in Carolina, they've got Matt Corral and Sam Darnold. I guess they're happy with that. I think Baker's better than both of those players. He may not be $18 million better, but he's definitely better. Same for Seattle. I think he's better than Geno Smith and Drew Lock. Is he $18 million better? So if Barry is banking on an injury, which I don't want to say like hope it happens, knock on some wood, let's watch some ACL burst in half, but we have seen some injuries early in the season lately to quarterbacks. I just want to put the facts out there. Russell Wilson, he missed 3 weeks last season. These are quarterbacks on teams that don't want to mess around and lose because if Russell doesn't get hurt, maybe Seattle's in the postseason. Kyler Murray, 3 weeks. We saw the Colt McCoy show. Joe Burrow, his rookie season, remember he missed the last 6 weeks this season. Dak Prescott missed 11 after the fractured ankle, which Tony Romo said it was a cramp. Never forget. Jimmy Garoppolo, 10 weeks altogether in 2020, and he missed some time last year. And then Drew Brees. Remember when Teddy Bridgewater had to spell him for a couple weeks and actually played better? Yeah, he missed 4 weeks. So there have been some big-name quarterbacks who have missed a good amount of time not too long ago. So where do you think Baker ends up? We'll look at more on the Baker Mayfield trade buzz, including what Daniel Jeremiah said. But overall, if you had to pick a team, like gun to your head, where's Baker going to go? Your guess may be as good as mine. Now, Daniel Jeremiah is suggesting a trade with the New York Giants, which is interesting because they've got Daniel Jones, who they opted not to pick the fifth-year contract option on, and they signed Tyrod Taylor during the offseason and free agency. So you would think they're content-ish with their options at quarterback. Here's what Jeremiah said during the Rich Eisen show. I talked to one person in the league who said, hey, saw you guys talk to Pete Carroll. There is no way they are signing Baker Mayfield. But the team I mentioned was the Giants. I just thought you don't pick up the fifth-year option on Daniel Jones. I just think if you want to have competition and maybe that gets the best out of Daniel Jones, or maybe Baker comes in there and flat out beats him out and off you go. Oops, that was bad. I know they've got Tyrod Taylor there as well, but I would say based off of accomplishments at their best in the league that Baker Mayfield has played at a higher level than those two guys have. You can make a strong case that he would win the job. I think Jeremiah's right. This is what I was talking about a little earlier ago. Is Baker Mayfield better than Daniel Jones? I think yes. Is he so much better that you trade away picks and take on an $18 million contract for him? That's where we have a bit of a hiccup. That's all of a sudden where things aren't aligning all that well. So we've got some more Baker and Daniel Jones stats to look at in just a moment, but I want to tell you about a great deal going on at Fanatics. You can get a custom jersey, okay? That's what producer Marshall likes to call it. When you go to chatsports.com/brown shirt, put any player, any name you want right there, and boom, you got your own custom jersey. It's way cheaper than getting a jersey. Don't get me wrong, I love a good jersey, but sometimes with how often players come and go from teams, a jersey may be the more financial safe pick here. If you compare the stats, though, like I was saying, from Baker to Jones, sure, Baker's played a lot longer, right? But it's not close. I don't think so. More yards per game, much better record as a starter, and the turnovers for Daniel Jones. I did him a favor, and I just put interceptions there. If you did interceptions and fumbles, it's not a pretty number for Daniel Jones. So if Baker and Daniel Jones were to compete and, all things were equal, I think Baker wins the battle without much of a competition, in my opinion. To me, it comes down to this. You take Baker, you subtract the price tag, and he's an upgrade. And I don't think this is bold talk here. I think there's a lot of, anti-Baker slander out there, which I get, right? It's like no one wants Baker. Well, no one wants an $18.9 million quarterback on the last year of their contract coming off shoulder surgery. People would take Baker over a lot of other starting quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion. I think maybe I'm alone, but I think the list of quarterbacks I would take Baker over is a little longer than you think. It's just, would you take him over? Would you take him for the contract, okay? I think Baker's better than Daniel Jones. I think Baker's probably better than Tua so far. Now, this isn't saying that the Dolphins should go trade for Baker. I think that, if I'm Miami, I'd stay put with Tua and hope it works out. But if you're looking at just like a one season and no contracts and it's like a fantasy draft, I would take Baker over Jones, Tua, Drew Lock for sure, Jared Goff. Probably looks like he was dressed up very nicely by Sean McVay, and now he's not looking so pretty in the Motor City. And then Sam Darnold, I don't know how this is much of a conversation. It's just about that number. Can you stomach that as a GM? If you go trade for a quarterback and it doesn't work out, it's going to be a little bit part of your lasting legacy, and that's usually a great way to get fired. If you mess up the quarterback position, you're on a one-way track to losing, and that's the best way to lose your job, in my opinion. So, is Baker a top 16 quarterback in the NFL? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Is he in the top half? That's where the question is. Is Baker in the top half of the NFL. While you're putting your answers down there, make sure you subscribe. We are almost at 9,000 subscribers. It is insane the growth this channel has had in the last week. I mean, last Wednesday, we're not even in the NFL draft, and we're at 7,400 subscribers. We picked up nearly a K in 6 days. So if you haven't hit that big red button to get the best Browns news and rumors content for free on YouTube, I don't know what you're waiting for. Is Baker a top 16 QB in the NFL? Y for yes, N for no. Let's see what the votes are saying. We got some Y's coming in. I know it's like when you put Baker next to Deshaun Watson, he looks very ugly. And that's fair. That's fine. But Baker, compared to some of these other guys, is better. And I would just hope that some GM, this is like selfish, of course, will realize in August when he's standing out there, it's hot, it's a training camp, and he's watching his QBs overthrow receivers, get picked off, and he's like, all right, what's Barry's number again? Let's just do this because I don't want to lose my job because I thought Drew Lock could be the guy. You know? I just don't see that coming. All right, we've got a mailbag coming up in just a moment. So if you want to get on the show, use hashtag Browns or Super Chat. I think we had a Super Chat come in, so we'll check that out. We're going to say that for the mailbag. Okay, producer Marsh in my ear. So use hashtag Browns. Get those questions in. Let me know what you're thinking about for the latest Browns news and rumors or Super Chat. Skip the line. That way you're guaranteed to get on the show. Shout out to Dreadbull for the Super Chat. Appreciate all the donations to my dog's toy fund, who I signed up for BarkBox after the Super Chats from last week. So she's going to be deliriously happy when that comes in a couple of weeks. We got to get some questions in, guys. We got to get hashtag Browns in the comments section. That way you can get on the show. I think that's what makes Chat Sports so great and so innovative, is it's a two-way conversation. It's not just me talking up here. You know, it's an excellent way to make sure you guys are a part of the show. So use hashtag Browns. Get your questions in. Super Chat, skip the line. Jason's got his hashtag Browns question in there. Keep them coming. Let's let that questionnaire fill up, and then we're going to dive into the show. Rodney, bottom Y. I don't know what that means. Bottom half of the league or top half? I think it means bottom, but okay. We got some questions coming in from TLH Arts and Projects. Sounds like a school YouTube channel right there. Captain Orange, Watson is near his ceiling. Baker is not. Baker's ceiling is his best games, and he's had 16 elite games statistically. Yeah, Baker I think he's not worth a first overall pick anymore. I don't think he's as bad as advertised sometimes. I really don't, you know? Like, I remember back in January and February saying, I don't think Baker's going to get traded unless the Browns shock the world with a Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, or Deshaun Watson trade, which they did. So I think Baker's better than some other players out there. Marsh, we looking good? Hashtag Browns. All right, we got some Darko. You got to do hashtag Browns. So right there on the screen, put it at the front, put it at the end of your question. Doesn't matter, but you got to use hashtag Browns to ask the question. It's just our software can't pull it if you don't use hashtag Browns. All right, I think we're ready to go. So let's dive into a Cleveland Browns mailbag. It is mailbag time here on the Cleveland Browns Report. I answer the questions you guys asked during our live show. So if you want to be part of a future mailbag, subscribe, join the live shows. That way you can be a part of the show just as much as I am. So first question coming in, Jason Burns. I'm happy you asked this because we got a depth chart too as well. Jason Burns asking, is Schwartz a bust? Listen, it's hard to label someone a bust after 1 year. He was also a third-round pick. So can you be a bust in round 3? Like, that's right on the line. You can't be a bust in day 3, right? If you're a fourth-round pick, you can't be a bust. Now, remember that Chiefs game, like week 1, when he had, was the first drive, I think it was, where Baker and him hooked up for a deep ball? Like, that was awesome. And then the soft tissue injuries caught up to him, which is kind of worrisome because Anthony Schwartz's greatest attribute is his speed. And if you are hindered by a hamstring injury, what do you have left then? Not a good curl route with awesome hands. If you look at the depth chart, I've currently got him as wide receiver 3 because I think Bell's got to come in and win the job first. Now, maybe you want to move Jakeem Grant a little higher, but I think he's going to be more of a special teams guy anyway. But I think for now, Schwartz has 3, and it's his to lose to Bell. And maybe after a good preseason from the Purdue Boilermaker, those two will swap spots. But I don't think Schwartz is a bust yet. I don't really know if you can be a bust in round 3. Maybe you can. I think maybe day 2 is kind of bust territory, I guess. Super chat from Dread Bull. Appreciate the super. What scares teams more, Baker's salary or Baker's attitude? That is an awesome question. And I don't have a concrete answer, but I'll say salary. I think there are a lot of divas out in the NFL that you don't really hear much about because they're really good at football, so they get overlooked for that. Now, Baker doesn't have the skill level to be a diva. Like Antonio Brown's a diva, but he was also really good. So everyone is like, all right, we'll make do with this. Is Baker at that level to be a diva? And he's not really a diva. He's just emotional. But picking between the two, I would say salary. If Baker was like a second-round pick and was making $5 million this year, he would be on a team. No doubt about it. Super chat from Mike Dibble. Appreciate the super, my guy. Do you think we can land both Landry and Clowney? If so, when will they sign? I think it is possible to say you could sign both. I don't think it's impossible. The Browns have the second most cap space. If somehow Andrew Berry, I don't know, includes like a lifetime supply, like a free card at Dave & Buster's tossed in with the Baker Mayfield trade, and a team wants to take half of the salary, then absolutely he can pay both guys. Last I heard was a false-ish, maybe not rumor, that Landry was looking for $20 million. The Browns were going to offer Clowney 2-year, $22. They can't take both those. They can't offer both those contracts. So is it possible? Yes, I think Clowney is ahead of Landry in the totem pole. And if so, when will they sign? I don't know. There's some rumors out there that Clowney is just like, you know what? I don't mind skipping out on some of these workouts. I'll just sign in a week when all that's over with, so I can just chill out. Maybe that's true, maybe not. But I've heard that idea tossed out a little bit. We'll get to some more questions in just a moment, but if you are ready for the Browns to sweep the Steelers, subscribe today. In our last video, I said, hey, let's catch up to the Steelers talk here at Chat Sports, because I sit next to our Steelers host, Jeremy Beadling, and I'm tired of hearing him talk about the black and yellow song or black and gold. We had a big debate about which one of those two it is. Let me know. But if you hate Pittsburgh, you hate the Steel City, you hate the Steelers, and you're happy to see Big Ben crying with Marquise Pouncey on the bench after losing in the playoff game at home to the Cleveland Browns, yeah, you're in good company here. Hit that big red button and subscribe. Next question comes in from TLH Arts and Projects. If we keep Baker, do you see him starting if Deshaun gets suspended? No, guys. Do you think he'd be willing to play? No. For a couple of reasons. One, Baker may just show up. Like it's going to be interesting to see if this goes into August, if Barry and Stefanski say, please don't come. We'll pay you. We're not going to fine you, because teams could fine him. It could fine a player if they don't show up. Or maybe Baker wants to come to make it awkward. But I don't see a world where Baker swallows his pride and be like, yep, I'll play 4 games and hopefully raise my stock to get a trade soon. No, I think Baker's going to chill at home and expect to be traded, and eventually the Browns will just cut him outright before that happens, I think. Ender with our next super chat here on the show. Would like to get Hunter Renfrow next year for Deshaun. Yeah, that'd be cool, right? You get to reunite the two Clemson guys. Now, Renfro's, I think, a part of the future in Vegas. They like him a lot. Derek Carr loves him a lot. Oh, Derek Carr was asked about. Someone asked Derek Carr about trading Hunter Renfrow, and he never really tweets much. I mean, he tweeted back at them, Hunter Renfrow's not getting traded. Hunter Renfrow's getting an extension. So I don't see it happening, but it would be pretty awesome for the two Clemson Tigers to be reunited in Cleveland. Kind of off the wall question here. Predict the Browns' 2022 record. Let me know what your predictions are down below. I want to toss this little nugget. The NFL schedule comes out in a week, May 12th. If the Browns play week 1 on Sunday Night Football or have any primetime game in the first couple weeks, to me that signals the NFL is not planning to suspend Deshaun Watson. Now, if you see some boring games in the first couple weeks of the season and no primetime, not the best sign. So predict the Browns' record in 2022 down below. Next question from Sean Bailey Sr. Is Watson really near a ceiling? No, I don't think he's near a ceiling. I mean, think about some of the best quarterbacks lately. Aging like fine wine, right? Aaron Rodgers has been better in his late 30s than when we all thought he was at his best in like 2011 when they won the Super Bowl 12, 13. Tom Brady's been in his 40s better than in his 20s. So if that's, trend will continue, yeah, Deshaun Watson's not even close to his ceiling with that logic, right? And I think that's true. Darko with our next question. What do you think about the Hill trade? All right, talking about the Troy Hill trade. Yeah, a little bummed. Now, the Martin Emerson draft pick made a ton more sense once that trade went down. I think Barry ultimately was like, you know what? We just drafted a corner. If anyone can give us a pick for some of our players, we have to pick up the phone because we need to recoup some of these draft assets. So they got a future fifth. The Rams always say, F them picks. Happy to bring one of their guys back. I liked Troy Hill last year. Was bummed when he went down in New England. But ultimately, when you draft Martin Emerson, maybe you feel like it's easier to part ways with Hill. John Brown with our next question. We are the team to beat in the conference. Alex Wright is going to be Mike's running mate for a while to come. I think Cleveland is the team to beat, right? The Ravens last year showed, now it's not really fair because they had tons of injuries, but still they had some kryptonite shown down the stretch that season. I think Pittsburgh's going to get last. And I think Cincinnati is heading for a Super Bowl hangover, which always sounds like impossible until it happens. And I know that it's different because they've got Burrow and other teams had an aging quarterback, like Garoppolo and the Niners went and injuries next year. But still, it's the Bungles. I can't picture them putting it together back-to-back seasons. Next question comes in from Alex Korashamia. I hope I pronounced that right. Thank you for all the content. Appreciate you for watching. Chances that Browns going to do what they need in free agency. A little concerned after the job. So, I'm trying to figure out what you're really asking here. I'm not too concerned because the way I look at this Browns roster is if they had to play week 1 tomorrow, they'd be pretty fine. We're looking for sweeteners. We're looking to add some extra depth pieces with Jarvis Landry coming back. Now, I'm not overly excited for Chase Winovich or, Alex Wright starting at defensive end, but it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. So I'm not too concerned, but I think Andrew Berry is not done. One, don't remember, a lot of teams are going to make some cuts as they need to free up money, and they'll do that after June 1st. And so a lot of decent names are going to come out in the market. Remember, the Browns let go Sheldon Richardson rather later than earlier, so Minnesota picked him up. Who do you want the Browns to sign, though? Put a name down in the comments section. The easy ones are Landry or Clown. You can just put their number if you'd like, 80 or 90. I find that to be a great tactic to show some love to our boys. But who do you want the Browns to sign? Let me know down in the comments section. We've got some more questions to get to in just a second, but I want to tell everyone watching about what's going on over at Rumble. Rumble is an up-and-coming video platform service, and you can support the channel over there by going to rumble.com/Browns Report, getting awesome content just like you'd find at YouTube. And here at Chat Sports, we're pretty competitive. And shout out to everyone watching because the Browns Report is second in the standings, right ahead of the Raiders Report, we passed them just the other day, and now I'm climbing for number 1. I want to get to the Chiefs. I'm still a little salty about week 1, about Mahomes putting that comeback on. So if you want to see the Browns on top, follow us over on Rumble at rumble.com/Browns Report. Links in the comments and the description. Next question from Jacob Talton. Other than Cade York, did we draft a starter? That's a great question, Jacob. I guess no. That's my short answer because David Bell is not going to be wide receiver 1 or 2. I would think, you count 2 starting wide receivers. Maybe you want to toss a third in with like a slot guy, and maybe Bell beats out Schwartz for that position. I don't think Wright is going to start. He's more of a developmental pick. He's one of those, love the physical attributes, love the size, love the speed. We just got to get him a little more polished, add some more cliches in, and he'll be good to go opposite of Myles Garrett in 2023. So I think Cade York is probably the only starter, and I love that pick. Robbie Schneider with our next question. Do you think we end up keeping 5 running backs? Yeah, that's what I kind of wondered when they picked, what was his face, out of Cincinnati. Was it Jerome Ford? Mike Ford. No, Jerome Ford. I had it right. Yeah, Jerome Ford. So I think the pick there was, we know that Kareem Hunt's entering the last year of his contract. Let's think a couple steps ahead here. And we're in round 5. If there's I'm all about best player available. So I think Demetric Felton, they said he's still going to be a running back. I don't see how he could be. I think he's more of a gadget wide receiver, kind of like Jakeem Grant. So I guess if we go in order really quickly, it's Chubb, Hunt, Dearness Johnson, Ford, Felton, but you move Felton as a wide receiver, and John Kelly's on the practice squad. That's my best guess right there. Mike Dibble with our next question. What was your favorite draft pick this year? Great question. I'm going to go with Perion Winfrey. Maybe that's a cop-out. That's kind of the easy one. Just because we all thought, we were all kind of a little bummed, at least I was, you could have got Winfrey at pick 44. Dang it. To get him in round 4, that's insane value. It's 50 picks later. 50, 60 picks later from when a lot of people had him going. So Perion Winfrey, just for the upside of if you got him in round 4, even if he doesn't work out, still worth a 4th rounder. Adam Bonnell has our next question on the show. If you had to choose, would you rather sign Clowney and a lower-tier wide receiver or Landry and a lower-tier defensive end? Awesome question, Adam. Let me say Clowney and a lower-tier wide receiver. I think there's just more confidence in the wide receiver room. Plus, as much fun as it is to get a bunch of awesome wide receivers, you got Deshaun Watson. You paid him $230 million for a reason. The reason being, maybe you can allocate some money from wide receiver to other positions. Don't leave him high and dry. You got Amari Cooper for the guy. You drafted a wide receiver in round 3, but let him work with what he's got. That's why you paid him the big money, to make everyone else look super good. Let's focus a little bit on the defense. So I'd go with the first option, but love the question. Last question coming in from Super Browns fan. After Cooper, who will be the Browns' best wide receiver? I think training camp is going to be a ton of fun this year. Because remember last year, it was really all about Donovan Peoples-Jones is having the best training camp. He's having a breakout season coming up, and we didn't quite get that, mostly because Baker couldn't make his quarterback or make his wide receivers look all that good. So I'll go with DPJ as wide receiver 2. I don't think Schwartz will beat him out. Maybe Bell shocks us all and did what DPJ did last training camp and preseason, but nearly 600 yards, 3 touchdowns a year ago for the Browns. Leading wide receiver, yeah, I'll go with DPJ. So if you think Peoples-Jones is going to have a great, good breakout season, type 11. Let's show the guy some love. He's also been tweeting out a ton lately. What are good spots to eat in Cleveland? Which I love to see, because to me that tells me here's a player that wants to be a part of the community, that wants to be a part of Cleveland. So type 11. Let's show the guy some love on today's show if you think he's going to have a good 2022 season. Time to give some shout-outs here. William McKay says 11. Dreadbull says 11. Mitch McPherson, would you trade into the first round next year for Jackson Smith? No, I wouldn't trade in the first round really for anyone. You gave up a ton already. Let's not give up more. Bunch of 11s coming in. Sean Bailey says 11. Bill Riley says 11. Storm Beal says 11. Paul Coffey says 11. I love the name Paul Coffey because I just think of the episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm. If you know, you know. Robert Porter says 11. Hobo Bob. Awesome. Hobo Bob's got internet connection. He says 11. What's good? 600 yards from Adam. Yeah. With Baker, too, limping around. Wasn't too bad, right? Shout out to that Cardinals game. It's Fragger says 11. BC Exits 11. Shaylin says 11. Bill Riley finally got my name called out on somebody's site. Yeah, that's what we do here at the Browns Report. It's all about a two-way street. That's what I love so much about my job. Speaking of two-way street here, follow me over on Twitter. You guys answered the call I put out last week, trying to cross over 500 subscribers. We blew past that. Now we're trying to get to 1,000. I don't have the blue check marks. I'm not that cool. But I promise, if you follow me on Twitter, I'll be talking Brownies. I'll be talking about the NFL. So hit me up over on Twitter at Matthew Petey. We've got one last segment coming up on today's show. We're going to react to Mel Kiper's draft grades, see what he thought of the Browns. So stay tuned for that if you're curious. With our pumpkin pie man, what does he do now after the draft? What does Mel Kiper do for the next It's like kind of John Rothstein covers college basketball. Where do these guys go for the next 3 months? Hibernation? Europe? I don't know. Browns helmets are so ugly. All right, Adam. Why gotta be us down like that? Wasn't very nice. All right. Marshall, we all ready? All right, let's get into Mel Kiper's draft grades. Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report. I'm your host, Matthew Peterson. Coming up on today's show, we're going to react to Mel Kiper's NFL draft grades. See what he thought of the Browns' 2022 NFL draft class and kind of revisit the picks Andrew Berry made. First, Mel Kiper, though. He gave the Browns a B, grading all 32 NFL teams, and he was a little lazy, right? 2 A's, 28 B's, and 2 C's. He couldn't even sprinkle in like a D or an F. I don't know how the Rams get a C when they didn't even pick anyone until 104, I believe. Now, he did give credit to Andrew Berry for working without a first-round pick, also a second-rounder, which he traded out of, but still, he didn't pick until 68, I beg your pardon, in round 3. So, there's a little credit there, but still, to get a B when you don't have a first or a second-round pick, you must think very highly of what Andrew Berry did in day 2 and day 3. Let's revisit the picks, by the way, in case you forgot. Martin Emerson, the corner from Mississippi State. Alex Wright, edge rusher out of UAB. Bell from Purdue, who was a monster in the Big Ten the last couple seasons. Perion Winfrey out of OU, great value in round 4. And then he makes a bit of a splashy pick, right? Cade York, kicker. Round 4, I like it. Jerome Ford, the running back from Cincinnati in 5, who had 19 touchdowns last season for the Bearcats? He goes back-to-back Oklahoma players just to troll the OU fan base. Because a lot of OU fans became Browns fans when Baker went there, because he is their second coming of Jesus Christ. But he just wanted to mess with them a little more by picking 3 Oklahoma players, forcing people in Norman to continue to watch Browns football. And then Dawson Deaton, center out of Texas Tech. You let go J.C. Treader, you're in round 7. You look for someone who can compete on special teams, and if it's at a position of need-ish, you go with it. So grade the Browns NFL draft class. A, B, C, D, or F. Kiper gave him a B. Are you on track with Mel, or are you a little higher or a little lower on it? I think B's fair. My initial draft grade was a B-, because you didn't have a first or second round pick. That was Deshaun Watson, essentially. So I gave him a B-. Mel gave him a B. I want to know what you gave the Browns, though, down in the comments section. Let's visit what Mel Kiper said, by the way, in the article. Martin Emerson, 68, is an outside press corner. Defensive end Alex Wright, 78, has long arms for his 6'5" frame and has some some upside as a pass rusher. And Cade York is my top-ranked kicker. Perion Winfrey is a nice value pick. I thought he could go 50 picks earlier. As a 3-technique tackle, he can wreak havoc against centers and guards. The takeaway I have, by the way, is I guess this means Greg Newsome is going to be moving to slot. When you trade Troy Hill away, and don't sell yourself on this, Martin Emerson is not a slot guy. All right? He's not the fastest, quickest burst who can keep up over the middle, right? That's what you want from your slot receiver or your slot nickel DB. So I guess that means Newsome is going to bounce inside. I would like to envision that Barry and Stefanski met up and talked about if we pick Emerson and we trade Hill, who's going to replace Troy Hill. This is my best guess at the depth chart. Ronnie Harrison and Grant Delpit can be swapped in or out, interchangeable in my opinion. They roll with a lot of 3 safety sets anyway. I think that puts Greedy Williams at CB2 for now. Martin Emerson was a good pick. I think he's going to be a good corner, don't get me wrong. But I think it's Williams' job going into camp to lose. So that's my depth chart right there for now. What's the Browns' biggest need after the draft? Wide receiver, defensive end. It's kind of the same needs going into the draft. Now you're just looking for cherry on top. Now you're just like, can we even add some more muscle to this awesome and stacked roster? Let me know what you think down below. More from Mel Kiper. David Bell dropped because of his speed. He ran a 4.65 second 40 at the combine, but he put up huge numbers at Purdue. He could be a nice target on curls and crossers because of his sure hands. I expect Cleveland to be in the market for veteran receiving help after the draft, but Bell could fill a role as a rookie. So we visit the wide receiver depth chart here for the Browns. I've got Bell behind Schwartz to start. They're both third-round picks. And actually, Schwartz went 8 spots before Bell. Now, Schwartz was banged up most of his rookie year with those on and off soft tissue hamstring injuries, but hopefully a nice offseason of rest. He can come into camp and be ready to go 100%, which he wasn't going into camp last year. And Bell, listen, I would sleep better if the Browns had another wide receiver on this roster. My only fear is, like, we're really banking on Amari Cooper. And that's a fine plan of action. But the NFL is an injury league. So if something were to happen, I'm not going to say the rest of that sentence. It's like you don't say the number of the craps table. But if that were to be, what happened to Cooper, that could get a little ugly quickly. We'll talk more about Kiper's draft picks in just a second. But since last week, we have picked up, from what I counted, over 650 subscribers. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you got your notifications on. Hit that bell icon and select all. That way, whenever breaking Browns news or rumors comes out, like, say, Baker gets traded or Landry or Clowney re-signs, you're caught up to date immediately. So if you're new to the channel, happy to have you aboard here. You're one of us. Now join the Noti gang by turning on those notifications. Let's take a deeper dive at the draft picks here. I want to look at some of these guys a little closer just to get more caught up on on the new Browns roster. So we got some stats for these players. Martin Emerson, his career stats at Mississippi State. Only one interception, which came in his first year. He's not a ball hawk type of player. He's more of a, you don't want to throw my direction because of my size, because of my arm length. And teams look at that. Like, a quarter an inch of fingernail being longer is an extra PBU. So that's what Martin Emerson did for the Bulldogs at Mississippi State. Listen, ultimately, I asked Andrew Berry to go best player available. And that's what he did. I was a little critical of the pick at first, just because at the time they already had Troy Hill in the roster. Trading Hill away make this pick make more sense. And plus, in round 3, like I said, you take the top talent. Would have liked to have seen someone who could have been more of a starting contender. What still? Berry loves DBs, and he's thinking ahead here. I got faith in him. I trust him. I respect the pick. David Bell, meanwhile, out of Purdue, who was awesome for the Boilermakers. Make no mistake about it. Nearly 3,000 yards in just 29 games. That's like 2 seasons, guys. Remember, Big Ten hardly had a season in 2021. Or 2020, whatever it was, yeah. 21 touchdowns as his time in West Lafayette. Now, the big knock is the speed. But I want to help everyone stomach this a little better. I looked at some old combine results. You may be surprised to see some of the big names that didn't have blazing 40 speeds. Now, granted, Bell ran a 4.65, and some of these guys are nearly a tenth of a second faster. But still, Cooper Kupp, the Triple Crown winner, was 3, whatever the math is, off from Bell. Michael Thomas, 4.57. Allen Robinson, who has been awesome for the Bears and now off to the Rams, 4.6. Devontae Adams, 4.56. Hopkins with a 4.57. Speed isn't everything. There's a lot of fast people in the world. Doesn't mean they're good at football. Perrion Winfrey. I just love looking at the picture in the background. Look at him putting Brock Purdy deep into the ground. In his time in Norman, 6 sacks, 16 and a half tackles for loss, and a forced fumble. He was a absolute wrecking machine, and I'm happy to see him a part of the Dawg Pound. I think he's happy too. He had this tweet. I just want to share it with everyone in case you missed it. Tweeting out saying, I had no clue Browns fans were this crazy. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Dawg Pound, Perrion Winfrey. This is one of the most passionate fan bases in the NFL. This isn't the Rams that can't even get good attendance when they're on their way to winning a Super Bowl. Talk about the Browns here. Yeah, you're in good company now, Perrion. So let's welcome Winfrey to the Dawg Pound. Type 97 down below. That's his new jersey number in Cleveland. Let's show the guy some love. Let's welcome into the Dawg Pound. Type his jersey number at 97. Let him know that he's one of us now. One of us. One of us, right? We're doing Wolf of Wall Street style. So put your 97s in down in the comment section. Let's give some shout-outs here. Tonya, 91 likes. Yeah, and 267 people watching. Let's get to 100 likes. William says 97. Dreadbull says 97. BitSource AML Solutions Consulting. Sounds like a fun company. That's 97. Mitch McPherson, 97. Cam Lewis, 97. Ronald Dre, 97. Adam says, pretty sure Winfrey has tried to convince Clowney to re-sign. It's always kind of like an interesting dynamic of, does Winfrey even know Clowney? Probably not. Clowney's 29. Winfrey's a rookie. So maybe he got his number somehow. Muddy Fork Production says 97. Rodney Warren says 97. I love showing players that are new to the team some love. I just think it separates the Browns fan base from so many other fans in the NFL that don't just, they're fair weather fans. If the team's good, maybe they'll go. I'm talking about, I don't want to say it, but an 0-16 team that still had tons of fans showing up. So show me someone else. Streetland, my phone's at 97%. You don't have to charge that bad boy. You're good. Sean Bailey says 97. We got 97 likes. We got 3 more likes. Come on. 3 more likes as we're going to wrap up the show. Oh, for Perry on Winfrey. Okay, no more liking. No more. Oh, my God. No, someone liked it. Someone unlike it. Someone unlike it. Let's go back. We got 97. We're right there. We're looking at the live update here. Way too many people are going to unlike it. It's going to be horrible for YouTube. My boss is going to be so pissed at me. We're at 100 now. Oh, my God. We got so far. Okay, whatever. Yeah, shout out Twitter to wrap up the show. Appreciate everyone that made the Browns Report a part of today's show, a part of your day today. It really means a lot to me that you took some time out of your day to join the Dawg Pound here on YouTube. I'm going to give some Twitter shout-outs to anyone that followed me, following you back as well. Links in the chat, so follow me up on Twitter, or follow me on Twitter. Get some... Oh, my God, the light... No, reverse. Re-like. It's not worth it if we can't get to 97. I'd rather be like 110 than 98. This is a horrible idea. The bunk beds were a horrible idea, Mom. Why would you let him do it? There's blood everywhere. All right. We find the Twitter followers. Out the Way E followed me. Appreciate you, Out the Way E. Follow me on Twitter. Get some shout-outs here as we wrap up the show. Where are my Twitter followers? Okay, here we go. Alex from Perry followed me. Some random fan 93. Jay Williams. Isn't that the guy who got hacked? No, who got hacked when he said the Celtics have never had a black head coach? Was it Jay Williams? The Russians got him. All right, guys, I think we're going to do it for us on today's show. Bill Riley, I would like to, but I don't have Twitter or Facebook. Staying off the grid. I like it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Follow me on Twitter, like I said. Thank you so much for joining the Browns Report, and I'll see you guys later with more Browns news and rumors.